You think time runs backward forever, an endless hallway behind you, each door opening onto an earlier one, and then another, all the way down. It doesn't. The hallway has a wall. Time has an edge. Go back far enough, 13.8 billion years, no farther, and you do not arrive at an earlier moment. You arrive at no moment at all. Not darkness, not an empty room, not even silence. The word before simply stops working there, the way a compass stops working at the North Pole. It can still spin, but there is nothing left for it to point to. You can stand at the pole and ask, perfectly seriously, which way is north? And reality will have no answer to give you. That is the trap almost everyone falls into. We argue about whether God was always there, or whether the universe was always there, as if always were a long, solid road, and the only question is who has been standing on it longer. But what if there is no road? What if always itself runs out sooner than either side ever imagined? Because the moment you see why before the universe is a broken question, you will never think about the beginning of everything the same way again. Picture it. It's late. The kind of late when the house has gone quiet and your own thoughts start to sound louder than the world. You're lying in bed, staring at a ceiling you can barely see, and your mind drifts toward that question, the one that always feels a little too big for the dark. Where did everything come from? So you do what everyone does. You rewind. You run the film backward. The Earth came from a collapsing cloud of dust. That dust came from dead stars that tore themselves apart. Those stars came from vast clouds of hydrogen. The hydrogen came from the Big Bang. Easy. Comforting even. Each thing has a thing behind it. A neat line of dominoes falling backward through time, each one tipping into the next. And then you hit the wall. What came before the Big Bang? Your mind reaches backward and finds nothing to grab. So it does something quiet and sneaky, something so natural you barely notice it happening. It invents a waiting room. A dark, silent, empty place where nothing exists yet, but where the universe is somehow about to begin. A blank stage, a cosmic pause, a clock already hanging on the wall, ticking down toward creation. You've felt that picture before, haven't you? That mental image of nothing, black, still, endless, somehow pregnant with a universe that has not yet arrived. And here is the problem. That waiting room already has time inside it. It has a before and an after. It has duration. It has sequence. Without realizing it, you smuggled time into the nothing. You slid an invisible stage underneath reality and quietly assumed the stage had always been there. But that stage is the real mystery. Not matter, not energy, not stars or galaxies or gravity. The clock. Where did time come from? We spend our whole lives treating time like the floor beneath our feet. Always there, always flat, always reliable. The one thing that never seems to need explaining because everything else happens inside it. But think about what you just did. The moment you imagined the universe beginning, you imagined it beginning at a moment. And a moment is already a point in time. So in order for the universe to start, time had to already exist. You needed a when for the beginning to happen in. That is the hidden assumption buried underneath almost every argument about origins. We ask what came before the universe, and in the very asking, we have already assumed there was a before. We have already pictured time stretching backward, empty and patient, waiting for the show to start. It feels like common sense. It feels so obvious you don't even notice it as an assumption. But it is an assumption, and it may be wrong. Why should time be the one thing in all of existence that gets to exist for free? Why should it stand outside everything else, exempt from the very question we ask of every other thing? Where did you come from? Here is the thought that breaks the whole picture open. What if time is not the stage the universe appears on? What if time is part of the universe, born with it, woven into it, created alongside everything else? If that is true, then before the universe is not some hidden place we simply cannot see into yet. It is a phrase with nothing behind it, a painted door on a solid wall. And this is not mystical speculation. This is the direction modern physics itself points. You know the standard story. Around 13.8 billion years ago, the universe was unimaginably hot and unimaginably dense. Everything you can see tonight, every galaxy, every star, every planet, every atom in your body, was once packed into an early state so extreme that ordinary language starts to fail. Then it expanded, it cooled, particles formed, atoms emerged, gravity gathered matter into stars, stars into galaxies, galaxies into the structure of the cosmos. And after billions of years of that slow unfolding, here you are. And this is not just a guess, we have evidence. The universe is filled with a faint glow coming from every direction. The leftover heat of that early fireball, cooled now to just 2.7 degrees above absolute zero. The afterglow of the early universe is still washing over you right now. So the story can sound settled. There was a moment, the universe began, end of mystery. But listen carefully to the language. Began, started, first moment. Every one of those words quietly assumes a clock is already ticking. When most people picture the Big Bang, they imagine an explosion in darkness, a brilliant point of light bursting outward into an empty black space that was already there. A bang happening somewhere, at some time. But that picture is deeply misleading. The Big Bang was not an explosion in space. It was the rapid early expansion of space itself. And more than that, according to general relativity, when you run the universe backward toward that early state, it is not only matter that gets compressed. Space itself is pushed toward the edge, and so is time. Time is not the empty container the universe is poured into. Time is one of the things inside the container. It is part of the structure being driven backward. It is part of what reaches a limit. That is the crucial shift. The universe did not begin in time. The universe began time. This is the part that sounds simple once you say it, but takes a while to really feel in your bones. Because your intuition keeps trying to sneak the waiting room back in. So let's slow it down. Imagine you start walking north. You keep going, across countries, oceans, ice, for as long as you like. Eventually, you reach the North Pole. Now take one more step north. You can't. Not because there is a wall, not because some force stops you. There is simply no more north left to go into. The direction itself runs out beneath your feet. That is what before the Big Bang is like. It is not a hidden region, not a dark chamber, not a locked room whose key we haven't found yet. It is more like asking what lies north of the North Pole. The sentence is grammatical, but it does not successfully point to anything real. So when someone asks, what was there before the universe began? The honest answer may not be, we don't know yet. It may be stranger than that. There was no before. To make this more concrete, imagine I hand you a machine with one button. Every time you press it, you jump exactly 1 second into the past. No paradoxes, no danger. You are only an observer. Your job is simple. Keep pressing until you reach the beginning of everything. So you start. Press. 1 second ago. Press. A minute ago. Press. Years collapse. Civilizations unbuild themselves. Cities sink back into fields. Forests fold into seeds. Ice crawls back over continents. Dinosaurs return and vanish. The earth melts backward into a disk of glowing debris. The sun loosens into a cloud of gas. Galaxies rush inward. The universe grows hotter, denser, brighter. Press. Now there are no stars. Press. No atoms. Press. Only a blinding early fire. You are close now. One more stretch and you will reach the first second, the beginning of time itself. Press. Hotter. Press. Denser. Press. And then, just as you reach for the next jump, the button is gone. Not broken, not jammed, not out of power. Gone. Because there is no earlier second left for it to take you to. In exactly the same way there is no step north beyond the North Pole. There is no 1 second earlier before the first moment. You have not arrived at the first event sitting inside an already existing timeline. You have arrived at the edge of the timeline itself. And that is where the mind rebels. Because your brain does not like this at all. It keeps trying to repaint the waiting room. It keeps trying to sneak in an empty yesterday, a silent stage, a dark background for the universe to appear against. Why? Because your mind is built from sequence. Your thoughts happen one after another. Your memories point backward. Your expectations point forward. You are a creature made of time trying to imagine the absence of time. Of course the idea slips through your fingers. You are trying to use a time-shaped mind to grasp the edge of time itself. So let's approach it from another angle. Think of a song, not the sheet music, not the recording file, the actual experience of the melody as it plays. Where is the song? It is not sitting somewhere fully formed, waiting in silence for its turn. The song exists only in the playing. The first note does not emerge from a hidden chamber of pre-song music. Before the first note, there is no song. And just as importantly, there is no song time. The melody does not unfold inside some separate container called music time. The melody brings its own time with it. Start the song and you start its temporal flow in the same motion. That is closer to what time is like for the universe. Time is not the silence the universe plays into. Time is part of the music. Stop the song and you do not get empty song time stretching on after it. You just get no song. In the same way, if time belongs to the universe, then asking what came before time may be like asking what the melody was doing before the first note. Now layer the physics back in. Einstein showed us that space and time are not separate things. They are joined together in a single fabric, spacetime. Time is not some master clock floating above reality. It is one dimension of the structure itself. It can stretch, it can warp, it can flow differently depending on gravity and motion. This is not philosophy. We measure it. Put two ultra-precise clocks at different heights, one on the floor, one on a shelf, and they tick at different rates. The lower clock, deeper in Earth's gravitational field, runs slightly slower. The difference is tiny, but real. Your head ages a little faster than your feet do. GPS satellites have to account for relativistic time shifts, or your location would drift miles off course. Near a black hole, time slows dramatically relative to distant observers. There is no single universal clock keeping perfect time for everything at once. Time is local, flexible, physical. And if time can bend, then it is not the eternal backdrop. It is part of the system. So when we rewind the universe all the way back, time does not stand there waiting at the start like an empty theater before the actors arrive. It goes with the actors. It is woven into the stage, the lights, the script, everything. And eventually, it reaches its past edge. That changes the old argument completely. People love to ask, if God can be eternal, why can't the universe be eternal? It sounds sharp. It sounds decisive. But look at the hidden assumption underneath it. Both sides usually imagine eternity as an endless stretch of time extending forever backward. They are arguing about what occupies the road, while both silently assume the road itself exists. But what if it doesn't? What if time is not infinite toward the past? What if it has a left edge? Then always is not a property floating above reality. Always is a property that only makes sense inside time. And if time itself is finite toward the past, then asking whether the universe was always there becomes like asking whether something extends farther down a road than the road itself exists. The question dissolves, not because we have answered it, but because we can now see that it was malformed from the beginning. The universe does not need to have existed forever in order not to have a before. It can be finite toward the past and still lack any earlier moment in which it was absent. It never switched on against a background of waiting. There was no off-state sitting behind it. It simply extends back to its own first boundary, and not one instant farther. That is the strange thing, and once you see it, the mystery does not disappear. It only moves. Saying time has an edge does not tell you why there is something rather than nothing. It only tells you that what came before may be the wrong question. The deeper mystery remains untouched. Why is there a universe at all? Why this reality, this structure, this existence? Physics may tell you where certain questions break. It does not necessarily tell you why there is a world for those questions to break against. So the mystery survives. It just changes shape. And maybe that is the real lesson. Not that the universe has finally been explained, but that there may be truths about reality your mind was never designed to hold cleanly. You are a temporal being. Your thoughts arrive in sequence. Your understanding is stitched from before and after. So if the deepest layer of reality is not fully time-shaped, then perhaps your intuition will always fail, right where the deepest truth begins. Maybe that is not a flaw in the universe. Maybe it is a limit in us. And yet, here is the beautiful part. Even if your mind cannot fully contain the edge of time, you can still stand near it in understanding. The way you can stand at the shore of an ocean you cannot drink dry. Because right now, in the room where you are sitting, there is light moving through you that is almost as old as the cosmos itself. That faint microwave glow, the relic radiation from the early universe, is still here, still arriving, still pouring in from every direction. On old analog televisions tuned to dead channels, a tiny fraction of that crawling static came from this ancient afterglow. Think about that. Ancient light from the early universe brushing against your world in the present moment. And if you trace that light backward, it does not lead you to some ordinary earlier day, some cosmic yesterday waiting behind the dawn. It leads you back toward the edge, toward the place where the road of before runs out. Every dawn you have ever known had a darkness before it, except perhaps one. Somewhere behind all the mornings in the universe is a first light that broke no night, because there was no night yet to break. So no, this does not run backward forever. It has an edge, and you are standing in its light.